There is a woman somewhere in your week right now who has already checked you out, and you missed every second of it. Maybe it was the cashier this morning. Maybe it was the woman in the elevator on Tuesday. Maybe it was the one walking past you on the sidewalk. The one at the next table. The one who held the door for a heartbeat too long. She looked, she studied, she formed an opinion, she made a decision. And by the time you noticed she was even there, she was already gone, taking that decision with her into the rest of her day, never to be revisited. Today, I am going to fix that. I am going to walk you through 10 things women do, 10 micro behaviors when they are quietly checking you out. None of these will be obvious. None of these will be the things you have heard before. By the time we get to number 10, which is the most invisible of them all, you are going to start replaying the last few weeks of your life and realizing how much you missed. Let's get into it. The first thing she does is what I call the half turn. When a woman walks past you, or when you walk past her and she is interested in checking you out, she does not turn her head. That would be too obvious. She does something subtler. She turns her shoulders. Just a few degrees. Just enough to bring her eyes into a position where she can catch you in her peripheral vision without ever having to face you directly. If you are walking and she is walking, the half turn shows up as a tiny rotation of her upper body as you pass. It looks like she is adjusting her bag, or fixing her coat, or shifting how she is holding her phone. But the real purpose is to give her a clean side view of you for the second or two it takes for you to move past. She is using her peripheral vision because peripheral vision does not require eye contact and does not signal interest if she gets caught. If you are seated and she walks past your table, the half turn shows up as her chair angling slightly in your direction, or her body rotating an inch or two as she settles into her own seat. You will not notice it if you are looking at her face. The face stays neutral. The face stays pointed elsewhere. The shoulders are the giveaway. Watch for the half turn. Once you start seeing it, you will catch women checking you out from angles you did not know existed. The second thing she does is the over the shoulder. This is the classic move that has been around for as long as humans have walked past each other in public, and it is one of the most reliable signs that you registered hard enough on her radar to make her want a second pass. Here is how it works. She walks past you. She does not turn her head. While you can see her face, she gets 4 or 5 steps past you. Then just for a second, she glances back over her shoulder to check whether you are still in the same spot, whether you are still looking, whether you noticed her at all. The glance lasts under a second. If you happen to be looking when she does it, she will whip her head back forward instantly and pretend it never happened. This move is significant for one reason. Walking past a man and forgetting about him is the default. Walking past a man and feeling the need, 4 steps later, to verify whether he is still watching, that is not default behavior. That is the behavior of a woman whose brain held on to the interaction longer than it normally would, which means something about you registered. The over-the-shoulder glance is one of the most ancient flirtation moves in the human repertoire. It is so old that it appears in artwork from thousands of years ago, and it still happens today, every single day, in coffee shops and grocery stores, and on every sidewalk in every city in the world. You just have to be paying attention to the right window, which is the window after you pass each other, not before. The third thing she does happens in the eyes, but not in the way you think. When a woman checks a man out, she does not stare at his face. She runs a quick visual scan, top to bottom, or sometimes bottom to top. It takes about a second and a half. Her eyes start at his face, drop to his chest, hit his hands or his belt area, sometimes go all the way down to his shoes and come back up. This is called the full body sweep, and it is exactly the same thing men do to women when they check them out. The difference is that men are obvious about it and women are not. You will almost never see a woman doing the sweep. She does it when you are looking away. She does it when you are talking to someone else. She does it in the half second after you turn her head to look at something across the room. She is patient. She waits for the window. And when the window opens, she runs the scan, gathers the information, files it, and goes back to her neutral face before you turn back. The way you catch this is by tracking what her eyes are doing in your peripheral vision when she does not realize you can still see her. If you turn your head slightly but can still see her in the corner of your eye, you might catch the sweep happening. You will see her eyes dropping, traveling, and returning. That trajectory is unmistakable once you have seen it a few times. This is one of the truest signs of attraction in existence because the sweep only happens when the brain has decided it is worth gathering more information. She is not just registering your face. She is collecting data on you as a whole, and nobody collects data on people they are not interested in. The fourth thing she does is what I call the strategic adjustment. A woman who is checking you out will almost, without realizing it, start adjusting things about her own appearance in your presence. She runs a hand through her hair. She straightens her posture. She pulls at the hem of her shirt. She fixes her jewelry. She bites her lip and then licks it. She crosses her legs and uncrosses them. She finds reasons to draw attention to her face and body, not for you specifically, but because her body has decided you are worth presenting well to. This is not vanity. This is biology. When a woman becomes aware that an interesting man is nearby, her nervous system starts running a presentation check. Hair, posture, clothing, everything. She is making sure that if you happen to look over, you will see her at her best, and the strategic adjustments are her body's way of doing the maintenance check in real time. The tell is the timing. Watch for the adjustments that start happening within the first 30 seconds of you walking into her space. The moment her body registers you as worth looking at, the adjustments begin. If she is fixing her hair, smoothing her clothes, repositioning herself within seconds of you arriving, her body has flagged you. The maintenance was triggered by your presence. Compare this to women who do not adjust at all. The woman who stays in exactly the same posture, with the same expression, doing the same thing she was doing before you walked in, has not been triggered. Her presentation system did not turn on. The absence of the adjustment is its own data. The fifth thing she does is the friend signal. If she is with other women, watch what happens in the first few seconds after you arrive. Watch her friends. Specifically, watch her friends' eyes. If she is interested in you, one of two things will happen. Either her friends will look at her to gauge her reaction, or she will look at her friends to communicate something they will understand instantly. This is the silent language of female social groups. They have known each other long enough that an exchanged glance can carry an entire sentence. Did you see that guy? He is cute. Should I do something? Is he with someone? All of that can be communicated in a single look between two women who have been friends for years. The friend signal is the most reliable form of intel you can possibly receive in a social setting. Women, by default, do not include their friends in the loop about men they are not interested in. The friend never gets nudged. The friend never gets the look. The man is invisible to the whole group equally. But the moment one of them flags you as worth noticing, that information moves through the group instantly, silently, in glances and micro-expressions that men almost always miss. If you walk into a room and notice that the women in a group are exchanging quick glances right around the time you appeared, especially if those glances bounce between two specific people, you have just been communicated about. Whether the communication was good or bad depends on the energy of the glances, but either way, you registered. You are not invisible. You just have to learn to read the network. The sixth thing she does is what I call the proximity drift. A woman who is checking you out will often, without consciously realizing it, start finding reasons to be near you. Not aggressively, nothing obvious, but the spatial distance between her and you will slowly close over time without ever being explained. You are at the bar. She is standing 6 feet away with her friends. 10 minutes later, she is 3 feet away, still with her friends, still not looking at you, but somehow her group has migrated closer. You are at the party. She walks across the room to get a drink and ends up in your general vicinity. She walks past your table on the way to the bathroom and then again on the way back. She is at the bookstore in the same section you were in for longer than the section warrants. This drift is the body voting with its feet. The conscious mind is staying out of it. The face is staying neutral, but the legs keep finding excuses to be in your zone. And that pattern, once you start tracking it, is one of the most reliable signs you can read. Test it in your head right now. Has there been a woman in the last few weeks who kept ending up in the same physical space as you, again and again, without there being any obvious reason? A coworker who keeps walking past your desk, a neighbor who keeps showing up in the lobby, a stranger who keeps reappearing in the same coffee shop at the same time. Bodies do not gravitate to people they are uninterested in. The drift means something. The seventh thing she does is the second window pass. This one is subtle, and most men will never have a name for it. But once you hear it described, you will start seeing it everywhere. If a woman is in a setting where she can see you across the room and she is interested, she will look at you not once but in a specific rhythm. First look, glance away. Wait about 20 to 40 seconds. Second look. This is the second window pass. It is the brain running a verification check on its first impression. Did I really see what I thought I saw? Is he as interesting on the second look as he was on the first? Let me confirm. The reason this is significant is because second window passes do not happen for men a woman finds unremarkable. One look is enough to register and move on. The brain does not allocate a second look unless the first look generated enough signal to make verification worthwhile. So if you catch a woman looking at you across the room and then half a minute later you catch her looking again, you are not imagining it. You are being verified. If you make it to a third look in the same arc, the verification is no longer about confirming, it is about wanting. 3 looks in a few minutes from the same woman in the same setting means you have her attention in a way she is not going to be able to easily shake off for the rest of the night. Track the rhythm. Watch the windows. The repetition is the signal, not any single look. The eighth thing she does is the disappearing phone. When a woman is alone in public, her phone is usually her shield. It is her default activity, her social camouflage, her way of looking occupied while she figures out what is happening in the room. So pay attention to what happens to her phone when you arrive. If she is checking you out, the phone will start losing her attention. She will stop scrolling. She will put it down on the table face down. She will hold it in her lap instead of in front of her face. She will pretend to be doing something on it while actually using the screen as a prop to look natural while she is really paying attention to you. The phone goes from being her main activity to being a piece of theater. The opposite is just as readable. The woman who is not interested keeps her phone where it always was. She does not change her posture. She does not put anything down. The shield stays up because she does not need to be available for anything more interesting than what is already on her screen. This is a small detail, and most men never look for it, but it is a real, observable, measurable change in behavior that happens specifically because of your presence. Watch the phone. The phone never lies about priority, and the priority of the phone drops the moment you become more interesting than what is on it. The ninth thing she does involves her drink. This is one of the strangest and most reliable signs once you know to watch for it. When a woman is checking out a man in a setting where she has a drink, the drink becomes a prop in a small, unconscious performance. She might rotate the glass slowly between her fingers while looking at him. She might trace the rim with a fingertip. She might raise the glass slowly to her lips and take a sip while keeping her eyes on him over the rim. She might do all of this while pretending to be in conversation with the friend next to her. The drink gives her something to do with her hands, and her hands give her a reason to bring attention to her mouth, her wrists, her fingers, all of which are zones of human attraction signaling that go back thousands of years. You can catch this from across a room without ever making direct eye contact. You can see the slow rotation of the glass. You can see the deliberate sip. You can see the lingering finger on the rim. None of this is happening accidentally. Her nervous system has elevated her sense of self-presentation, and the drink is the easiest tool in her reach to participate in that elevation. If you see a woman doing this kind of slow choreography with the drink while her body is angled in your general direction, you are not imagining it. She is performing quietly for an audience of one, and that one is you. And here we are, the 10th one, the one most men go their whole lives without ever learning to read. She holds your gaze for just slightly too long. This is so simple it sounds like nothing, but the math of it is brutal. The average neutral eye contact between strangers lasts less than 1 second, about 600 milliseconds. Past that, the contact starts to feel like something. Past a second and a half, it becomes intense. Past 2 seconds, it is unmistakable. When a woman is checking you out, she will not stare at you. She will not lock eyes for 10 seconds. What she will do is hold the gaze for that subtle, dangerous, extra half second. Long enough that it does not feel like a normal glance. Short enough that it can be explained away if she gets nervous about it. It is the half second of lingering that turns ordinary eye contact into an event. You feel it before you process it. There is a moment when she does this where your brain says, wait, that lasted longer than it should have. That is the signal. That is the only thing you need to know. If the gaze felt slightly heavier than gravity would have predicted, if it left a tiny imprint on the rest of your day, if you found yourself thinking about it 10 minutes later, the looking was real and the looking meant something. This is the sign men miss the most because they second-guess themselves on it. They tell themselves the woman was just looking past them. They tell themselves they imagined the weight of it. They walk away from a moment that was full of information and convince themselves it was nothing. Stop doing that. When the gaze lasts too long, trust the gaze. It almost always meant exactly what your gut said it meant. So there they are. 10 things. The half turn, the over-the-shoulder glance, the full body sweep, the strategic adjustment, the friend signal, the proximity drift, the second window pass, the disappearing phone, the drink choreography, and the gaze that lasts a half second too long. Most men will read this and immediately start replaying the last few weeks of their life and realizing how much they walked past. The cashier who half-turned, the woman in the elevator who fixed her hair, the friend group that exchanged glances, the stranger who passed you twice in the same coffee shop, the eyes that lingered just a beat too long. All of it was happening. All of it meant something. You just did not have the framework to translate it. The point of this video is not to make you paranoid. It is not to make you start staring at every woman in public, hoping to catch her in the act. The point is to give you a more honest map of the social world you have been living in. Most men walk around assuming they are invisible. Most men are wrong. The signs of interest have been there. You just have to start paying enough attention to see them. Here is the deeper lesson, though, and I want to leave you with it. Reading these signs does not make you more attractive. Reading these signs just helps you accurately measure where you already are. The work of becoming more attractive is a separate thing entirely. It happens in the gym, in your discipline, in the books you read, in the calm you build into your nervous system, in the way you carry yourself through life. The signs respond to the man you have already become. If you do not like what the signs are telling you, the answer is not to change how you read them. The answer is to change who you are. But while you are doing that deeper work, keep your eyes open. The world is sending you information every single day in subtle behaviors and quiet glances and half-turns you have been missing your whole life. You are not invisible. You never were. You just had not learned the language. If this story changed the way you look at the subtle signals in your daily life, please subscribe and like the channel. We are uncovering the social dynamics that have been hidden in plain sight. Plant the seeds for your future. The next treasure trove of insights will open soon.